At the end of the day, when training camp is over, when preseason is over, where do you see Shedeur? Whether it's on the depth chart, whether it's on a practice squad, where do you see Shedeur falling?
I would say, I'd say he ends up a 3 on the depth chart to start the
I agree.
season. I think he's a 3. I don't think you can keep him at 4. I think he's a guy that you want to have on the roster. I don't see him on the practice squad just because of his value, and I think that people will be chomping at the bit to get to him. Yep. So I think he ends up. I think he starts the season at 3. When you look at the injury history of a Joe Flacco, his age, then you look at Kenny Pickett and what he's been able to do in the NFL. I don't think 3 is a bad spot at all for him. And I think there's a time where later on in the season where he gets his opportunity. But I'm kind of glad. I don't want him to go through this gauntlet at the beginning of the season that Cleveland has of a schedule. I mean, it's a monster of a schedule. I'm good with that, actually.
Yeah.
So I would think you start out as a 3, bide your time, continue to get better, and then during the season, he's going to have his opportunity.
What I want versus what's realistic are two different things for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I want is them to, first of all, Cleveland been playing in our face. I believe they believe more in Shedeur than they're letting on, because there's no way that you're making a documentary about your quarterback battle. You already know Shedeur is the ticket. Shedeur is going to pay for this new stadium that y'all want. So there's no way that Shedeur is going to hit the practice squad. There's no way that Shedeur is going to be cut from this team. I want him to be on practice squad to go to another team because I just don't believe in Cleveland. But Cleveland, they playing in our faces. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, I can go for that, man. And I don't think. I think they know what they have. I don't think they're foolish enough to put him on the practice squad. If anything, they would trade him, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I think they know what Shedeur is, and I think it'll be solidified after this third preseason game.
Yeah, I definitely believe they're trying to prepare him for the future. I definitely see them molding that team around Shedeur. I don't know where that leaves Dylan Gabriel, but it looks like Kenny Pickett is probably going to be the odd man out from what I'm seeing. It's not ideal to have 2 rookies, but hey, crazier things have happened, and this is the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, you just go look at the RG3 or Kirk Cousins situation from back then, where RG3 was the guy, the Heisman candidate, and they just believed so much in Kirk Cousins that they spent a 4th round pick on him. Kind of the same situation almost, except for RG3 was basically the guy from day one without his injury history. Maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't become who he is, but because Washington did have the foresight to draft a guy like that, Kirk Cousins goes on and has this illustrious career where he's literally, I ain't gonna say robbed him, but he's made a lot of money in the NFL.
Amen.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Shedeur had a similar situation to where he's able to hold the NFL ransom basically with this play.
Exactly. From one quarterback battle in Cleveland to there's another quarterback battle in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Issa Rae. I'm rooting for everybody black. I'm rooting for the Buffs all season. It don't matter who the quarterback is going to be. But who do you see coming out winning the quarterback battle?
I think Caden Salter, based on experience. I think that's a tough spot to put a 17-year-old game one. When the first game is played, Juju will still be 17. I think that I don't think it is not because I don't think he's capable. I just think there's no replacement for experience.
Exactly.
You can even go look at the job market. The first thing they want to know is when you look at the new candidate. It could be a guy from Harvard University who, magna cum laude, all of this stuff, all the internships. But when it comes down to getting the job done tomorrow, you want somebody who's done it before. And I think that's kind of where you are with this quarterback race. And it's not just experience. Caden Salter is pretty damn good. I mean, he literally has a 3,000-yard pass and 1,000-yard rushing season under his belt already.
Yeah.
A blue chip prospect. When you look at where the final rankings, Juju and Caden Salter were basically in the same range when they both graduated high school. So I think Juju reclassified early. He's gotten a lot. He's a lot of valuable experience being in Colorado already. So I think he's gonna be fine, and I think Caden Salter. This is a season where I can see Juju in some spots, and you got to have 2 quarterbacks to be a championship team. So I think that's where you are, and. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Salter starts.
I agree. I love the future for Juju, Georgia boy, of course. So I can't wait to see what. I'm pretty sure there will be some packages, and hopefully there are some games where we're up so far in the third quarter, that Juju can play that fourth quarter and get that experience. Because of course, everybody wants to see Juju. So
Mhm.
hopefully we get some of those games to where that can happen. And speaking of those games, what are your expectations for the CU Buffs this season?
I think 9, 10 wins. I think this roster is really talented. I don't see a team in the Big 12 that scares me, that I think juggernaut when I see them. When I
Yeah,
look at the amount of talent on the rest of the teams in the Big 12, I think Colorado is in the top 4, top 3 when it comes to just overall roster capability. When you look at that, where they're good, defensive line, I think this offensive line is going to be much improved. You look at the starts, the experience that they have. He brought in and I said this is the term I used all season, that Colorado top graded. They could have stayed where they were
yeah,
and just only brought in, but they raised the floor so much that they had to start bringing players in over the ceiling. And so now you're seeing players brought in that you had starters last year that you could have said, all right, well, we got a starter there. Said, now we want to get better here, 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 and here, regardless. Let's compete and let's see how
regardless.
good this guy really is. It may not be the most comfortable situation for players who have been there from day one, but when you want to build a championship roster, the cream always rises to the top. And I think it's just amazing that Colorado has one of the heaviest offensive lines in college football. When you lose a guy like Peyton
Crazy.
Kirkland, like, you're averaging 330 pounds after you lose 350. Like, that's insane. So, and Flapjack, Zach, the big Zach, they lost 700 pounds in 2 people, and they're still ranked towards the top of the heaviest offensive lines in college football. So I think when you're able to have that type of size in the trenches, offensive and defensive line, led the league of sacks last year, and you return Keaton Wade, who was going crazy when he started, Amari McNeil. They got a lot. So I just think I think the wide receiver room is crazy. I think you got great quarterback play. I think you got running hit linebackers. I think you got 2, 3, 4 really good corners. Yeah, I think Colorado is prime. I think in this conference they can get 9 or 10.
Man, and one thing I'm seeing in Colorado, they got a bunch of boys from the South, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to bode well for them. I'm excited about the Buff season. I definitely see them going, like you said, about 9 wins, 9, 10 wins in that range. I don't see anybody else in the Big 12 that can really. Colorado will only beat themselves. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I see this season. I want a Big 12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want for Coach Prime. Coach Prime, the Buffs. I want to see the playoffs, and I feel like that can happen this season. Do you think the playoffs are in the future for the Buffs?
Yeah, I think you got to win the Big 12. I think you got to go step by step. I don't. The one knock on Coach Prime has been he hasn't won a postseason game as a college coach.
Yeah,
So I think this is the year that this is the best year that he's had for it to happen. So I think by being able to keep people engaged, playing meaningful football in November and early December is going to be important. I think this will be the first time that you have the playoffs on the line once again. Like last year, they should have had the playoffs locked up, but
man.
they didn't, right? So I think now you get that opportunity. You got a fresh slate. You don't have your children on staff. I mean, excuse me, on the roster. So I think now you're going to see a different Coach Prime, and Coach Prime coming off of another triumph medically. So I
Yep.
think now you'll see a different Coach Prime, and he'll be motivated to another level. So I'm excited for what they can do.
Same, man.